Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session, The Impact of Financial Knowledge and Incentives on Digital Adoption and Responsible Lending. I'm Jessica Eating, COO and co-founder of Flourish Fi. And at Flourish, we're passionate about empowering people to build better money habits. And we work closely with financial institutions to provide solutions that drive positive financial behavior while creating more loyal and engaged customers. And before founding Flourish, I spent a decade in social impact and philanthropy and very focused on how we can create opportunities for underserved communities. So I'm really thrilled to be here today moderating our fireside chat, where we'll explore how fintech innovation and responsible lending practices are making a real difference in the lives of underserved Latino immigrants. And I'm delighted to be joined by Mauricio Delgado, Chief Strategy Officer at Tricolor Holdings, which is a tech-driven community development financial institution focused on providing auto loans to the Latino community in the U.S. Tricolor is deeply committed to financial inclusion, offering responsible lending solutions to help underserved immigrants without U.S. credit history gain access to fair financing. And so Mauricio has been instrumental in leveraging data insights and AI to shape Tricolor's mission-driven solutions that empower the credit-invisible Hispanic population in the U.S. He's been committed to using financial technology for social good and possesses a keen ability to align business objectives with community needs. And before joining Tricolor, he co-founded Nada Finance, a platform focused on unlocking real estate wealth. So please join me in welcoming Mauricio. Since we're online virtual, I will imagine the claps there. And then let me move into setting the stage here. If you're here, then you understand that financial inclusion and wellness is a global issue. And many times these solutions to these challenges can often be deeply local. And so in the US, Latino immigrants are disproportionately affected by barriers to credit and financial education. Right? Some studies say that nearly 30% of Latinos in the US lack access to mainstream financial services, with many still relying on cash-based systems, which can limit their ability to build credit, access loans, and establish financial stability. So today we'll be exploring how innovative fintech solutions like those developed by Tricolor and with Flourish are working to break down these barriers. So just for the little bit of the flow, we'll start off by hearing a little bit about Mauricio's journey and how he became involved with Tricolor. And then we'll dive into unique challenges that are faced by the Hispanic community in the US and how financial knowledge impacts lending, particularly through gamified financial education and behavioral incentives. And then finally, we'll explore how these lessons can apply to other Latino communities globally. So just to kick us off here, I'll go ahead and let's discuss Mauricio here a little bit. So Mauricio, maybe we can start with your journey. If you can tell us about your path to becoming the Chief Strategy Officer at Tricolor and how you became involved in this important work serving the Latino community.
Sure. Thanks, Jessica, for having me, and welcome everyone. So a little bit of background on myself. I'm a Latino immigrant. My family immigrated to the U.S. from Mexico when I was about 7 years old. And as a typical immigrant story, education was stressed on us as kind of the way to improve our lives and improve other people's lives. And so with that, I really focused on education as kind of a way, as a way to make changes in the world. And so I ended up going to school in California, where I was exposed to the big Hispanic migrant population and a lot of the challenges that they faced in assimilating to the U.S., specifically to the U.S. economy. And it was in school where I kind of came across some of the early business models that were helping this underserved market. So there were a few classmates of mine ended up going on and starting businesses and unsecured loans, insurance, money transfer, so kind of the Progresso, Opportunes, Listos of the world. So really had the opportunity to see these business models in practice and how they were changing lives for a lot of these Hispanic immigrants here in the U.S. So with that in mind, I ended up spending some time on Wall Street and some time in Silicon Valley, where I kind of brought together the fin and the tech of fintech, and then finally made my way back to Texas where I joined Tricolor about almost 12 years ago, and excited to share more about the Tricolor story and how we've addressed some of the challenges for this Hispanic population.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, right? And to really understand and see how, you've lived this experience and, you really focused on how you became inspired to then go forward with this work. I think, right, we share a personal connection into the Hispanic community. My mother is of Mexican descent, and then my father's also an immigrant to the U.S., although not Latino, but definitely feel and understand this from a personal level. So let's go ahead then and dive in here to a little bit more deeply into what the challenges are that are being faced by this community in particular and how Tricolor has addressed it. So maybe you can share a little bit in terms of what you see as the unique challenges that Tricolor is solving for the Hispanic community. And also of interest is right, how did those challenges shape Tricolor's approach, in particular to becoming a CDFI? Because that's quite an interesting story to understand.
Yeah. So first of all, Tricolor was founded about 16 years ago. So we've been serving this market for almost 2 decades now. But specifically, kind of some of the challenges that the Tricolor the Tricolor kind of uncovered and is solving for the Hispanic community. Number one is limited access to credit. So there's more than 60 million Hispanics living here in the U.S. that would collectively rank as the fifth largest economy in the world. However, a third of this population has none or limited access to mainstream credit, and so a lot of them live in the shadows. A lot of them are underbanked or unbanked, because of either distrust of financial institutions or just an inability to get kind of mainstream financial services because they lack a social security number and therefore they lack a FICO score and a credit score. So aside from kind of the access to credit, there's obviously a number of language and cultural barriers that prevent this population from that end up having to rely on predatory financial services that come with higher fees, higher less favorable terms. So all those are challenges that are faced by this population, and then specifically to Tricolor and our business model. So we as you mentioned, we're mission driven, CDFI certified, vertically integrated auto retailer and finance company. So we sell and finance cars to this market, specifically to people with no credit. And so what we're solving for them specifically is kind of issues around physical and financial mobility. Obviously on the physical mobility side, having access to a vehicle that's reliable and can get them to work is something that's very important and obviously something that drives economic value for them. And then kind of wrapping the vehicle around with an affordable loan that they can use to buy a vehicle that they may not have had access to before is something that's very important to us. And so all of these things are just to say that we've been in the market for a long time. We've understood the challenges faced by this market for quite a bit. And so our decision to become a CDFI, it was basically a way to formalize what we were already doing. So our commitment to the Hispanic community is something that is near and dear to our heart. And so aligning our business model with the CDFI mission-driven approach was something that was important to us. And so we became CDFI certified about 5 years ago in 2019. And really it's a way for us to continue our mission of empowering underserved yet deserving Hispanics with access to reliable and affordable transportation, and then moving them into the financial mainstream by doing that.
And just a little follow-up question on that. Any interesting learnings or lessons like from the borrower's experience that has kind of helped you refine your lending practices or the way that you might have these offerings?
Yeah, generally, our borrowers, this is their kind of the biggest loan that they've ever taken on, the biggest asset that they've ever purchased, and so they take pride in this purchase, and they take pride in their ability to finally be able to finance, a big SUV or a truck for work, etc. And so, kind of some of the lessons learned over time in serving this market is that by focusing on building trust with this community, by not just extending credit to them, but also by providing safe and reliable transportation, is something that's allowed us to grow and scale quickly. So we started 16 years ago, and now we have 60 locations across 5 or 6 states now, and we've dispersed over $4 billion of auto loans to this market. And so I think all of that is validation that by focusing on doing good for this customer, we're able to do well for the company as well.
Yeah, I think that's really key, and we know that you've mentioned it, and we see it time and time again that really building that trust is one of the barriers faced, whether it is coming into the financial services, trusting what kind of loan providers to go to. And I really love this piece that you said around kind of the pride that can be felt, right? You're not just empowering people financially, you're kind of empowering them, fully as a whole person. So like taking that focus, thinking about the consumer and how do you really, build them up beyond just the specific interaction that you're having related to their finances, but building them up as in a whole. So I really love that you share that. And so, kind of, following along with some of the questions that we have here, and builds from this is, right, how has Tricolor, how do you feel like you've really helped immigrants without the credit history access loans? And, how do you describe sort of the long-term impact on their financial stability that you've been able to provide?
Yeah. So, we leverage technology, specifically AI, plus kind of a deep understanding of our customers that we've developed over time to develop a proprietary risk model that has allowed us to segment this market that has little or no credit history into risk segments that allow us to provide and to offer attractive terms that can convert them. This is kind of validated in terms of, we've dispersed over $4 billion of auto loans over time. We'll originate over $1 billion just this year. And again, it's all leveraging this technology that we've developed over the years that allows us to segment these borrowers and provide them credit terms that are very attractive relative to what they get or what they're not able to get in the market. What are the outcomes of this? So as you can imagine, people with no credit, no FICO scores, et cetera, we by underwriting them and then providing credit to them, we also ultimately report their performance to the credit bureaus. That effectively allows them to build a credit score by leveraging what we're able to do. And so this has helped about a third of our borrowers that had no credit score establish a credit history. So I think number one for us is getting these borrowers out of the shadows and into kind of mainstream financial services, even if that comes at the expense of us losing these customers over time, because now they're able to get credit from other places. I think I think that just validates our mission to help these people, regardless of whether it's helping us as a company. Additionally, 30% of our customers that did have a FICO score coming into us improved their FICO score after getting a loan from us. And so, when you take those two kind of outcomes, I think it speaks to our ability to put these borrowers into the mainstream financial economy and help them over time build their credit or build their credit scores.
Great. And then there's a question in the chat that I think many people have in their mind when they think about AI. The question in the chat is, if you can provide a little more in terms of how you use AI for a thin file segment, and what are some of the ways you prevent bias in your model? I think generally, right, people are interested in knowing, right, when technology is applied, how is it applied responsibly and really thoughtfully. So I don't know if
Yeah.
maybe you want to address a little bit of that and how you guys approach and see applying, right, this technology in a responsible way.
Yeah, great question. So, I think specifically within AI, we use machine learning for our risk model. So, machine learning model effectively takes all this data that we've collected over the years, both application data as well as loan performance data, and then we marry it with third-party data that we're able to get on these customers from non-traditional data sources, and then we run it through our machine learning models that effectively are looking at different kind of collections of attributes that that are able to predict risk for us. And so, when an applicant shows up to us, we have them fill out an application that can that can include 50, 75 questions, and it's all because they're a thin file or no file, and so we have to get application level data on these customers that allow us to run it through our machine learning models. In terms of how we avoid and prevent biases in our models, we run all of our models through legal and compliance. We importantly align them with practices like sending out adverse action letters, etc., to keep us in compliance. But it is an area that we focus on, and we've invested quite a bit in over the years. It's something that is important to us as we continue to scale.
Great, thank you. So let's switch a little bit here. I think this has been really interesting in hearing how you apply technology, how you really address individuals. And so another way, right, in part of our partnership together, so Flourish Fi, is one of the partners of Tricolor. The way that we work together is, bringing about financial education incentives into the Tricolor relationship with their customers. And so, maybe it would be great to hear a little bit, Mauricio, in terms of how does Tricolor think about financial knowledge and incorporate it into your offerings?
Yeah, so it's definitely a cornerstone for us in terms of being a CDFI is providing kind of financial education and knowledge to our customers, and it's core to kind of how we've been operating as a business since the beginning. So we understand that it's important to support our customers with financial literacy programs. I think specific to our customer base is really understanding how to have them engage with this content, to empower them to access mainstream financing and ultimately build a better future. A lot of that customized content and strategies come from our partnership with Flourish that we started in 2022, and that's allowed us to drive awareness and adoption of these financial literacy resources via rewards and gamification that we built into the platform, and specifically into our loan servicing platform. Jessica, if you want to provide some more details in terms of kind of some of the outcomes that we've seen from that, but we've been very excited about the results so far, and again, it's something that we really focus on in terms of extending this education to our customers.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think this partnership that we've had has been, very, very rewarding, and we've been excited to be able to provide the value to your consumers. And maybe we can share the screen. If you can bring the screen up for me, Rima. Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to show a little bit here in terms of what we've seen. So in the outset, we're looking at how are we bringing in the clients onto the Tricolor platform, and specifically then into a rewards platform that is part of our partnership together. And it's been really great over time. We've really seen that the users that are coming in are really active. We incentivize them to come in regularly, and so we have 97% of active users that have achieved kind of a login streak. So an incentive that we have for bringing them into the platform, because we know that having the digital engagement, right, ensures that they're informed, they're getting access to the financial literacy component that's available, and so bringing them back is really an important piece of this. And of these users that are coming, we see about 54% of them are actually adopting what we call the trivia, which is the financial literacy, kind of gamified financial literacy that we bring in for Tricolor. And with that, I don't have the stat here, but it's really great to see. We have users that are really active, that they're coming in kind of every other week to play new questions, and even the accuracy rates that we're seeing are quite good. With users having about a 70% accuracy rate to answering those questions. So then we see them learning, adopting, and having that activity. And we can see how interesting this is to users that come into the platform. And then beyond, right, the kind of financial literacy that's delivered directly, we really understand that it's then what is the behavior that we're seeing, and incentivizing the positive behavior is another way of really helping that learned experience of what is actual knowledge of how you manage your finances, and then actually experiencing that the positive financial behavior. And so with Tricolor, we see these customers who are adopting the online payment channel at a higher rate for those that are using the kind of the rewards of the Flourish platform versus those that are not. And then, to the actual payments on time, we see a more consistent on-time payment behavior. So one of the incentives on in our partnership and that we offer to the consumers is if they make 6 on-time payments in a row, right, they get rewarded. And so we see, a much higher percentage of those that are using Flourish versus those that aren't, that have a more consistent on-time payment behavior. And so, right, we see how not only then these rewards are getting them to take the financial knowledge, trivia portions, but then they're also applying that into the behaviors that they're having. So I think that has been something that's been, really wonderful to see in terms of the value that we're delivering through our partnership together, and then in the ways that the incentives can have an impact on the consumer themselves. Rima, you can go ahead and take down the slide now. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that right. It's truly important as we see that financial knowledge can make a difference when we see that those that are participating and have this understanding then can also take better action and take better control of their finances and of their own building of their financial stability in the future. And so I think these have all been great. I don't know, Mauricio, if you have anything else you'd like to highlight from your experience in terms of application of these strategies and the behaviors on your borrowers.
Yeah, no, I think for our market, the majority of them don't have any financial education whatsoever. So getting them to even engage with financial literacy type materials and content is challenging. I think the way that Flourish has come around to do it in terms of gamification and rewards, I think provides that entry for these borrowers to have fun and to engage with this content that normally they wouldn't even understand how to do. And so I think those features have really, specific to our market, have helped quite a bit in kind of crossing the chasm and getting these people to engage with financial literacy courses and materials. And so, I think that's something that I would highlight is I think specific to our market, gamification and rewards is proven to be something that can that can excite people who normally not be excited by learning about financial education. So and the results speak for themselves in terms of the engagement on the platform, their ability to their willingness to continue to make payments, their willingness to engage with us online and to make online payments. Those are all outcomes from this, and something that we continue to push. And something that we're excited to see in terms of the results.
Yeah, I think it's really important when we think about challenges in general in the Latino community, as you say, right? Many of the consumers that come in don't have much financial literacy and access to it. And I think, when you look at the kind of general data overall globally, you see that Latinos, whether in the U.S. or within Latin American countries, they tend to have lower rates of financial literacy versus kind of the global rates. Not that the global rates of adult financial literacy are very high, but they come in just a little bit lower as well. So then knowing that when they're in country and when they cross the diaspora, it's still a challenge. And so being able to bring this, I think, for us is something that's super important to the mission, and really glad that we're able to work towards together. And so speaking a little bit more, right, globally, and thinking about how there is connection between what we're experiencing and applying here in the U.S. and the kind of Latinos abroad globally, right? How do you kind of see some of the lessons learned from your work translate to other regions? Thinking about the global Latino population or across the diaspora.
So, obviously our focus in our current market is the U.S. Latino population, but in terms of how our model of responsible lending and reliable, offering reliable transportation, we've seen how this business model has transformed the economic opportunities for our market here in the U.S. And now we're seeing that take off specifically in certain Latin American countries. And so for certain specific Latin American countries like Mexico, Brazil, et cetera, where there's a rising middle class, where this middle class is digital native, they kind of have the same or similar expectations in terms of financial services and access to reliable transportation. We're seeing companies like, for example, Kavak in Latin America take kind of some of the lessons learned of our market here in the U.S. and apply it down there, and so far I think they've seen some success there. And so I think as we see the middle class continuing to grow in these markets and have access to affordable credit, I think we'll see these business models continue to grow in these Latin American countries.
Yeah, I think that's really a great way to think about how you apply it, and from Flourish perspective as well, right? In terms of how the gamification can truly have an impact. I think you see things, if you think about those across the diaspora, Latinos moving anywhere, right, and sending remittances home. You see a big digital adoption of remittance types products, and then I think even Remitly saw an increase in terms of the adoption when they incorporated point-based systems. So you see gamification applications, kind of beyond in terms of financial services and how they apply to this population. And for us, we work with customers across Latin America, and one of our partners in Bolivia, right? We had a pause in our platform for a time due to some kind of just right, like it was like an unexpected pause, and so it actually gave us a really interesting case study to see what happened during that time. And we saw a 31% decline in on-time loan payments during that period that it was paused. So you see a real impact in what this can have in terms of incentivizing bringing people to have this behavior, whether you're talking about in the U.S. or you're talking about in other countries across the globe. So I think there really are lessons here that we can apply that aren't just specific to the U.S. I think we have a couple minutes left here. I'm getting the flag, but I don't know if anybody else has any additional questions in the audience. We might be able to have time to fit one in, but if not, we can go ahead and wrap up here so that we're not going too far over. So let me see if there's any other questions, or if somebody has a question that they want to send in, we can address it. Okay, I think we did cover the question that was there. I believe these chats are still open, so we can go ahead and answer questions, or please feel free to reach out to us afterwards. We're happy to connect. check out the Flourish LinkedIn page or send me an email directly. And then also feel free to connect with Mauricio as well. Yeah, I do see one question. I don't know, Prima, if we have time to answer it. Okay, really quick. So the question is the focus of the gamified education on managing credit auto loan specifically, or do you extend to inform customers on other financial topics? So I can answer this in Mauricio as well. But no, the gamified education, it does have a specific focus on credit and auto loan information, but it doesn't only. And so part of this is thinking about in the broader spectrum of financial literacy and financial knowledge, what other questions and what other kind of information can we help bring to the consumer so that they build their knowledge broadly. And, kind of the purpose of that is, because of a belief and a commitment to a mission to truly build an individual's knowledge so that it's not just specific to the products that are provided. But of course, there is a focus on that in the content so that it has relevancy to the individual in the context that they're visiting, because we find that to be very important as well, that it kind of needs to fit the context that someone has coming in. So that's sort of from Flourish's perspective. Mauricio, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that, Jessica. I think our focus is to improve the quality of lives of our customers ultimately, and in focusing on the broader financial education is one aspect of doing that. And so for us, it goes beyond the auto loan. We look at ourselves as kind of a gateway for this market to access financial services generally. And so anything that we can do to help educate them is something that's very important for us.
Great. Wonderful. Okay, I'll go ahead and wrap up so that we're not too far over here. I'll share out my email address in case anybody would like to follow up directly in the chat, because I believe that's still available afterwards. And yes, please feel free to connect with me over LinkedIn or either of us over LinkedIn, and we'd be happy to chat and continue. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here with us today.